up, we have a video news package from Mrs. Eshelman's broadcast journalism class focusing on the issue of climate change. And we got a chance to speak to one of the members of this group, Luke McCarthy, and he had this to say on the group's project.
Climate change has become a global issue that is talked about every day. How has it affected Burlington as a community, and what can we do to combat it?
First, Ms. Graham spoke about the local impacts of climate change.
The big things that's probably most noticeable for people living around here is a change in our weather patterns. So we're getting more storms where we are getting a lot of precipitation from one event. And I think some of the storms, over this past weekend, or even if you think over the summer, people can definitely remember some of those big storms that they've had. Another good one, living on the coast. If you look at Boston area, right on the coastline, those coastlines and sea levels are definitely starting to change. And once again, when we get those big storms, a lot of areas in Boston are starting to flood.
Mrs. Graham then spoke about how environmental science is related to climate change. She spoke about how she incorporates climate change into her curriculum.
I think if anything, it's made my subject more important. I think one of the really cool things about environmental science is if I wanted to, I could probably teach it all with what's happening in the news on that any given day. There's always stuff about the environment or climate change on the news. So I think if anything, it's made students realize how important this class is, and it's probably increased the numbers of students who've decided to take my class. So when I teach, I really try and explain the science behind climate change so that people leave having a really firm understanding of what that means.
Earlier this year, Burlington banned plastic bags from being used in stores as an effort to reduce the amount of plastic that is used.
Well, we already got the plastic bag thing that's annoying me, because then we have to carry those paper bags from Wegmans, you know what I'm talking about, that don't have handles. It hurts.
Sam Norman spoke about how he thinks that paper bags and solar panels are a good solution to climate change. He also spoke about the shift in schools' use of paper to technology.
Using paper bags instead of plastic, which reduces companies from producing as much plastic, causing less pollution. Because paper bags are recyclable, so you don't have to produce a new one each time. It can be recycled in a new paper. And also, if more people decide to have solar panels on their roofs, then that would help greatly by reducing the amount of coal used.
Finally, Mrs. Graham spoke about what people can do in an effort to combat climate change.
I think one of the biggest things we need to do is start looking at our actions that utilize fossil fuels. So things like driving cars is probably one of the biggest things that we can do. So carpooling whenever you can, taking the bus to and from school is a great way to reduce your carbon impact and carbon footprint. I know we're not really buying cars as teenagers, but when you do buy a car, if you can get an electric car or a more fuel-efficient car, that's another great way. Taking your bike, walking when you can, anything that's going to lessen, driving in a car. And then smaller things. When you're not in a room, turn off the lights. Have fuel-efficient light bulbs at home. All of those things, small impacts can add together to make a greater impact. Yeah.
Ultimately, we still have time to try to lessen the impact of climate change. One way to start is by making efforts as a community to help combat climate change. Some of these efforts include educating people about climate change, recycling products such as paper and plastic, and reducing the amount of fossil fuels emitted by cars and factories.
And we are here with Luke McCarthy from the journalism class. Hi, Luke. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm doing good.
That's good. That's good. I'm good. So we got some questions for you here.
All right.
The first question is, what inspired you to tackle the topic in your video?
We were handed a list of different topics we could choose from. Some of them were certainly more out there, like wind turbines.
Wind turbine, okay.
That was an option. Well, alas, we did not choose it. We ended up picking climate change because it's obviously a very current issue.
Sure.
You've seen Greta Thunberg.
Yep.
And all
Times
of that.
Person of the Year.
Times Person of the Year, indeed. She came over here on a sailboat, if I'm not mistaken. Good for her. So yeah, it was a very current issue, and we decided, hey, well, let's do something that's pretty relevant and people are interested about, unlike wind turbines, which I'm sure are great renewable sources of energy.
Well, yeah, that's a subset of climate change.
It is, yeah. But interest in wind turbines run a little low here at the moment.
All right. What did you learn about broadcast from producing your video?
I actually knew a little bit about broadcast going into journalism, because I have learned some stuff from here, and then I am going to school to major in broadcast.
Oh, so you might know a thing or two.
Yeah, so I knew a little bit.
Well, what did your group learn then? What was some overall experiences that you had that enlightened some kids?
Definitely getting enough B-roll to fill kind of like blank gaps in narration, because truly B-roll is nearly the core of, very nearly the core of a video, because you can have an interview, but human attention span just kind of, they'll tendency to wander off if something goes on for too long, so it's nice to have the changes. And the other big thing we learned is levels of audio.
Yeah, that's an important one.
You gotta make sure they all match up, because otherwise 1 minute's really quiet and then the next minute's blaring loud, which I remember when our videos were actually played back in class, there was a sound effect played in someone's video and it was like very blasting, and our teacher was kind of like, whoa. So that was a little funny to watch, but it was definitely the reminder to balance the audio.
Yeah, definitely. And our last question here, or not really a question, but I would like you to tell us how you applied what you learned from your broadcast experience to the video.
Again, back to audio leveling, making sure everything is all nice and neat in terms of audio, because the last thing you want is something that's going to deafen people and then instantly switch to, oh, I can't hear it at all. Camera angles, that was definitely another one. You don't want to have like constantly switching between all different angles. The rule of 180, that was also talked upon, but I think we didn't use it as much because we didn't switch from interviewer to interviewee. So those were two things that I probably will be applying very, very soon.
All right. Well, thank you very much. It was great to talk about climate change, as it is a big issue at this point.
It is.
And we are going to go back to everyone here in the studio. We'll see you there. All right. Well, thank you, Luke, for that interview. But now we have some members of the Student Council here with us today. Can you introduce yourselves and tell us what roles you have in the Student Council?
I am Colby Walzer. I am the Executive Board President of Student Council.
And I'm Colin, and I am the Executive Board Secretary.
All right, sounds good. So we're gonna have a chat about a couple things here. Our first topic of the day is college applications. So for a lot of people, college applications are finally over, which means that the struggle process that we were put through is fresh in the minds of a lot of people. As students just start to dig into their studies at the beginning of their final year of high school, we're hit with a wave of responsibilities and decisions that will affect the rest of our lives. This is a daunting process for many as they are trying to impress the colleges, keep up their grades in school, balance a social life, sports, and other personal activities. We're here to talk about that today. So are college applications too time-consuming nowadays for the average high school senior?
For me, no. Maybe for other people, but I think if you want to go to a college, that the process can be worth it. I'm not going to comment on if the system's fair, but
well, sure you can if you don't think it's fair.
I don't think it's fair.
Yeah.
But I think that if you want to get into a college, I think the process is reasonable.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think, so me personally, I haven't finished most of my Common Apps. I'm going to be applying regular decision for my schools. And I'm working through the process now, and I think the only difficult part may be the supplements. I think thanks to the Common App, everything's there for you. You just fill it out one time, and then special schools or specific schools, you got to do more work, but it's not like you're going to have to spend an entire week dedicated to it, you know what I mean? So I feel like it is manageable.
I think throughout the entire process, I've been confused of what I need to do. Like I am capable and willing to do the work to get everything done, but I think that I don't know what I need to do most of the time. I think I'm close now, maybe, but yeah, I just think that it's there should be a little more of an outline about like this, and this kind of thing would be super helpful for me at least. Yeah.
As the only junior in the room who hasn't applied to college yet and won't for another like year, I mean, I see all my friends who are seniors and like you guys are all like stressed beyond, and even after you apply, like it's the stress of like, am I going to get in somewhere? And like that first college you get in, that relief you feel, but like it might not be your dream college, so like then you have like the weeks and weeks of waiting of just like, do I get in? Am I going to a place I want to be for the rest of my life? Am I doing what I want to be? And I'm terrified for next year.
Yeah.
Like I'm already stressed. Like my mom is already like, oh, have you looked at this college? Have you looked at these programs? Like, what do you want to do? And it's even from like freshman year, I was scared. I'm still scared.
I feel stressed, not all the time with the process, but I feel stress usually in like what errors I make rather than what comes from the process itself. Because I know there were like, I want to say like 2 times so far where I just forgot a deadline was like the day after, and I just had to like pound through it, and I was just like, I don't like this. This is not fun.
Yeah.
Does anyone want to write all those essays
Yeah.
though?
It definitely could be a little simpler, I feel like.
Or like it depends, like not like obviously they look at your grades and stuff, but then they also like look at the essays to determine if you get in. So there's that stress. Like if you're not a good writer, like you have to bang out that essay that's like perfect and it's got good grammar and it's interesting and like all this stuff. And like if you're not good at writing, that's like really hard. And then it's like all it depends on. So like you're like.
What you mentioned about the essays, I think is really interesting because for Colby and I, we're both in the same English class, and our teacher, Miss Belarzik, first assignment was really to do the college essay.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I know that is a thing,
Uh-huh.
but like even for like the supplemental essays and
Yeah, that's different.
just like the college essay, like the main one that you have to write, I feel like in general would be like really hard because like you want to make it perfect and you want to show your personality through it and all this stuff, but like you have a limited amount of space and like you got to make every word count.
Yeah, I think one of the good things, like Ethan, you also had an English teacher go over your college essay. I think that's one of the, one of the easier but more effective ways of making sure that gets done. By forcing it through the schoolwork, you also happen to have it done for college. Like I had it done September, and I haven't actually put it into the Common App until like this week. So it's just been there. I'm thankful.
So that's how I started though. Is I was like, I have to apply to college. I have no idea what I'm doing. So I'm like, I've heard people talk about the Common App. So I just Googled Common App and I started filling stuff out. That's how little I knew. I just started putting stuff in. I don't know.
Okay, and our next topic is all about bricks and mortar. Of course, I'm talking about stores with exclusively physical locations losing too much money to online retailers. Stores are facing bankruptcy because of this, and some, such as Toys R Us and Sears, are already gone due to this. Lots of people, such as myself, find it much easier to shop online than drive to a store and buy something, but that's what's fueling this widespread shutdown of physical retail stores. So we're asking, are online stores going to wipe out physical ones, and do we care?
Sure. Yeah, sure. They're gonna eventually everything. Not everything though. I can imagine restaurants still being up. Well, obviously, but like a store like Walmart. That's very replaceable, I think. Why would somebody put in the effort to actually go there when they could just beep 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 beep, click.
Yeah.
That's a sound effect.
Is that how
of
Amazon
door
works?
opening.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yes.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I feel like even now I use Amazon for like most of my things.
Yeah.
Like I would occasionally go to the mall and like if I need something, it's like, oh, Amazon. My grandmother is Amazon Prime, so we just like hop on her account and I'm like, oh, it's gonna be here in 2 to 3 days. Perfect. It'll be here when we need it. So
especially with us living so close to Boston, where they have a warehouse there, like one of their major warehouses, it's so easy to order stuff and get it like the next day. And so it's like, even if you have to wait one day, it's better than like having to take up your own time to go to the store and figure it out. And then most of the time they don't have it at the store or anywhere near you. So you just get it from Amazon because they have everything. So that's why I find it easier.
I think, for me though, I'm not a big shopper as it is. So online shopping has never been a big thing for me. But I think it's very convenient. I think it's great. But when I do go shopping, I do prefer to like, whether it be food or clothing or anything else, I like to see it in person, you know, because people, they lie sometimes on the internet. So I like to see it in stores, but I think physical stores, unfortunately, will be replaced eventually, and it's a little bit sad. But
I think stores for sure that sell clothes are the main.
Yeah, I think they'll be more prominent. Like they'll go away later because like I feel like
Right.
there would need to be like a specific way to find measurements.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And our next discussion comes from the Broadcast Journalism Project once again. And sadly, this group cannot make it tonight, but we do have a video to show from them here. So let's hear what they have to say about sleep deprivation in teenagers.
Sleep, something that everyone needs, but few people get enough of.
Many students in BHS aren't getting enough sleep in a day, which can have an effect on their health, stress levels, and performance in school.
The average teen gets only about 7 hours of sleep a night, which is so little compared to the average of 9 hours of sleep that they should be getting. The information on the chart is provided by the CDC.
At BHS, school now gets out about an hour later than years prior. While the time change was intended to help students get more sleep, it can be a challenge for students to balance out their schoolwork and activities.
Vishwa Patel, a senior at BHS, is able to balance school and sleep, but is understanding of the struggles some students have.
I do one club. I am the vice president of Arbor Club, and we meet like once every 2 weeks, like an hour. I get home after school at like 3:30. I don't really mind it because it doesn't really affect me, but I know that it affects other people. They do sports, they go to practice, they have games, they have a life outside of school, they have to do homework.
While students like Vishwa can get a good amount of sleep, others struggle with maintaining a good night's rest because their time is crammed with schoolwork and sports.
In the winter, hockey is sometimes before school, and then golf is after school.
How do you feel about the new start time?
We get out of school later, and then there's less time to do homework after sports.
For our last interview, we sat down with a BHS nurse to get a medical perspective on the importance of sleep for teens.
Most teenagers do not get 8 hours, but that's what you should get. But I do think that kids are probably staying up a little bit later because of the sports being later, extracurricular activities starting later, so homework gets done later. When you are exhausted, you basically can't think straight, and it just kind of ruins your whole day. Just trying so hard to just maintain, focus, and if you get a good night's sleep, you definitely feel better, I think.
Students feel the impact of sleep too.
I'm more tired during school and get less sleep.
I think I do better in school and have a good night of sleep.
Sleep is incredibly important for memory formation, physical well-being, and mental health. Without a good night's sleep, students are not only at a disadvantage in the classroom, but are also more likely to get sick and feel more stressed.
Now with that, we want to ask our student council members here what their thoughts are on the lack of sleep teens are getting and what BHS students can do about it right here and right now.
I don't think much can be done about students sleeping or not sleeping. I think that no matter what, kids are just not gonna sleep. Like, I know for me with the schedule change, I set a bedtime for myself at 10. I just moved that back.
Too, yeah.
I moved it back an hour. Like, I don't know.
That notification on my phone where it's like turn off all your apps and stuff, but you can bypass it. So it's like mine's at like 10:30, but normally I'm still up until like 10:45.
Yeah, 10:45. Ooh, I'm a little later than that usually. No, but I think so a lot of people are like, oh, but I just stay up later now that I have more time in the morning. Well, and so I think the reason for that is that it's the same amount of sleep, but it's in more of the correct part of the day that you want it in, right? If you wake up when it's dark out, that'll mess you up for the rest of the day, right? If you wake up more naturally when it's light out, it'll actually help you. But I definitely think that I don't think anyone goes to sleep at the right time because everyone's tired all the time.
Yeah. Also, like the sleep deprivation thing, like I feel like a lot of kids, like there are some kids that like have to stay up that late because they like are doing things that are necessary, but like procrastination's also a factor. Like a lot of people just like do everything in the last minute, and like they could sit there for hours on their phone before even starting their homework. Like literally, I'm pretty sure some people start their homework when I go to bed, and like I normally get a pretty good amount of sleep. But like I know other people don't because like they start their homework again at like 10 p.m. and then they're up until like 1 or 2 a.m. trying to do their finish their homework.
I do a lot of my homework in school, and I do a lot of it. I do a lot of it when I get home. But like, and I've tried to get myself to do that to get to sleep earlier. But the thing is, as it gets later, I get more motivated to do stuff. Right when I come home from school, I'm like, I'm done for today. And then it's like 10 p.m. and I'm like, man, I don't want to sleep. I want to get all this stuff done. So yeah, I think it's an issue.
There was
for
this
sure.
one day where I took the pre-ACT,
Mhm.
which is like hard, and then I had something that Sunday, so this was like a Saturday, and I had something that night, so I had to do my homework in like the 2 hours after the pre-ACT, and I was sitting there and I was like, I can't do this. I can't focus on my homework right after school, right after I just did those.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's a factor that people don't want to do their homework right after school.
Yeah,
obviously.
definitely.
And then they do it later at night, and that leads to not enough sleep.
So, as we all know, the year is 2019, and gone are the days of being able to keep up with all of your favorite shows with just a Netflix subscription and a cable box. Now, as of recently, there are so many different options for streaming that if you want to watch a show, chances are you better put down another $12 a month to watch that one show. This is becoming a dilemma for many entertainment consumers as they're having a harder time deciding exactly what matters most to them and what they can pass by and save some cash on. So we're here to talk about all of the new streaming options and what we think our favorites are.
But I can definitely see the want or the need to have these services, like all these Baby Yoda memes everywhere. Like sometimes
I just got Disney Plus. It's really good.
Yeah,
it's really good.
I just see Baby Yoda everywhere.
It's
yeah,
really
sometimes
good.
I see, I'm like, man, these are so funny. I really want to watch this show now, but I don't have the money. So.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Oh.
Okay, well, so for me, we just got a family subscription, and so you can have multiple accounts on there, just like Netflix does. And we got it because we wanted to watch Mandalorian, right? That's the big thing. But we got it, and I was looking around, and you can watch every Star Wars movie that was ever put out on there. You can watch Endgame. I don't know where else you can watch Endgame. You can buy it on YouTube, but you can watch Endgame on Disney Plus now. Which is like, that's a selling point in itself. But so there's a lot of things on there that are just like, you can't find anywhere else. Like I feel like I'm browsing Netflix a lot of times and I'm like, oh, I wonder if Netflix has this. No. I wonder if Netflix has this. No. And it's things like Endgame and the Star Wars movies, popular movies, that are actually on things like Disney Plus.
My family just kind of like hitchhiked onto my grandparents' Netflix account. So like we don't really pay for it. I think we pay them like a little bit, but we don't really pay anything. And then I got my Hulu subscription with my Spotify account because I really wanted Spotify Premium. That's something I like listening to music, so I just wanted to be able to listen to music without ads. So that was sort of worth it for me. Like Hulu was just like an extra thing, but I found that I do like some of the shows that are on Hulu that like I couldn't find on Netflix. Like I watch Bones. I love Bones. It's all on Hulu, but it's not on Netflix. So like you gotta balance it though. But then some are on both of them, so you're like, which do I watch?
There's not a lot of overlap though.
Yeah, there's
for contract reasons. Yeah.
But like then I also want Disney Plus. I want all those
This is the dilemma.
shows.
This is what we're here to talk
It's
about.
so hard.
Yeah.
But I don't think I could get rid of any of them because like Netflix has Criminal Minds. I love Criminal Minds. I don't think I could ever give up Criminal Minds. So that is Criminal Minds, but then Hulu has Bones, and it just comes with it anyway. So I feel like I would have Hulu anyway. But then I really want Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Which one is Gordon Ramsay on? Do you know if they like?
I have no. There's too many. There's too many to keep track of now. That's the issue.
Yes. I don't know why that popped in my head.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's probably Netflix. That feels like that's his home. I don't know. All right.
Now, as students in high school get older, they need a job and they have hobbies they enjoy and other important life responsibilities. However, a lot of this time is taken up by school and school-related activities. So many students are excited to go home and be able to work on other important things when they are hit by time-consuming homework and studying, which blocks them from doing other things they want or have to. We're here questioning if there should be a limit on how much a teacher can give out a night.
Whoever wrote that question is very biased.
Yeah, that's very biased. Also,
so I should not go first then. So.
Sentence.
Oh
wait, yeah.
I think it depends on like what teacher you have and what class you're in. We're both in AP Literature and Composition, would you say the workload is fine? I think it's fine.
I think it's manageable. I think it's a healthy amount. It's not like she doesn't give any homework, but it's not like she overdoes it. You know? It's like placed in such good spots over the course of the week or 2 weeks. It's like, I can do that.
Yeah.
So.
Like, I'm in AP chemistry, and like,
oh no.
I literally think I have homework every single night. But at the same time, she will give you the plan like 2 weeks in advance. Like, she posted on there so you know what you have, what day, and you know like how much you're gonna have so you can look at it. So like, I think I do pretty well at planning. Like, I do a lot. Like, Wednesday is my lab day, so I normally do like my entire lab on the weekend when I have maybe a little bit more time than I do on the weekdays. So I have the weekdays for like my homework assignments. But there's I get a lot of homework.
Yeah. I think that plan that you were talking about, if the teachers put it out there, I think that's really helpful. I know the three of us have the same calc teacher.
Yeah.
We have the same class.
And sometimes we don't even know what we're doing the night of.
Yeah. We don't know.
There's another class that I have like that too.
Yeah. So like, I think the plan is a good idea. And like knowing what you have is always great.
Yeah.
As long as you actually like check and do it and all that stuff. But I think also going back to how it relates to jobs and sports and like everything else that you want to do as a teenager, I think there's always going to be overlap between what teachers give out, and you got to pick what you want the most. You got to pick what you want the most, and if it's school, then you got to focus on school, and you got to leave everything else. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.